Today is going to be comprised of odd jobs which, when taken together, represent the annual scramble on the day before the first snowstorm. Each year I find myself hustling around picking up tools, rolls of plastic, kids' toys, you name it, for nearly a full day before and sometimes during the first big snowstorm of the year. This year, I'm feeling really good about where I am on that front. The homestead has never been more organized, thanks to our woodshed and what I call the ATV shed, both of which were built last year. The ATV shed isn't quite finished, but it's definitely done enough to have organized and put things away inside it throughout the last couple months. Today's snow is supposed to begin falling late in the evening, but it's a work day, so I've got the time between dropping the kids at school and work, and a bit of time at lunch, plus whatever window I have after work before it begins to snow. That's the time I have to pick up anything I want to see before spring. First, however, I'm taking Ziggy for a walk, and since I'll be in the woods anyway, I'm going to remark our property boundaries with a solution that's a bit longer lasting than flagging tape. Since it's plastic, flagging, or surveyor's tape, breaks down in the elements, particularly UV radiation from the sun. That means tiny plastic particles end up blowing off the trees. I don't want to contribute to that, so I'm going to paint the boundary trees. I've never done this before, but I figure if it works on the Appalachian Trail, it should work for me. I'll still have to reapply every so often. How frequently, I don't know, but at least I won't be putting more plastic into the woods.
Well, I feel pretty good about that. Nice to have that done. I do have a few more trees to paint, but it's going to snow, allegedly. Tonight and tomorrow we're going to get about 6 to 8 inches. That's the prediction anyway. And we've had a little bit of a cold snap the last few days. And it's supposed to be pretty cold after the snowstorm for a week or two solid. And that happens every year at different times, but usually when you hit that stretch where you get snow and then it's going to be cold, you know that snow is going to be there for a while, and you're probably not going to get a chance to clean anything up that's on the ground until spring. So I'm going to be spending part of today, I'm going to go do a little bit right now before work starts. I'm going to spend part of today scrambling around and picking stuff up that still has to be cleaned, things I haven't quite got to. Put things in the sheds, make sure all my snowblower paths are clear, so I'm not going to get anything caught up in the augers. Just generally tidying up, putting away plant pots and things like that. So we'll see how far I get.
If you've followed the Nights and Weekends Homestead channel for a while, you'll have seen me making progress, however slowly, on the completion of this ATV shed, which I converted into a real building from one of those pop-up garages that the previous owner of our home happened to have left behind. This fall, I put actual doors on both ends, no more tarps, and made some pretty good headway on the cedar shingle siding. However, I've recently discovered a mistake on one set of doors. I designed the doorways to be big enough to allow my four-wheeler, with its 5-foot plow, to pass in and out. However, I forgot about that when designing the actual doors themselves and thought I'd get clever and fancy and hide the hinges. What I realized after putting on the siding is that my design prevents the doors from opening past the perpendicular point. And since I built them out of 2x6 lumber, I've lost a foot of my doorway space, which means my plow doesn't fit inside anymore. Luckily, I realized this before putting the doors on the other end, and those open all the way. Unfortunately, to fix this end, I need to take the hinges off, which means taking some shingles off. I was too discouraged to fix that right when I noticed, so I'll spend this winter with the plow outside. Lesson learned. I try to harvest water from our roof to water the animals in the summer and fill the ice rink in the fall. There comes a point, however, when that last function is no longer practical. That point is now. With temperatures for the next 2 weeks predicted to fall to and remain in the single digits, there won't be any melting and runoff from the roof. We're also going to be getting some high winds. So at this point, I need to take apart the gutter system, store it safely for the winter, and just use the hose to finish off the ice rink. The last thing I want to accomplish in the garden is to cover our leeks and baby spinach. I planted the spinach far too late, and we've already had a dusting of snow, so the spinach probably won't amount to anything this spring. However, this is the best crop of leeks I've ever produced, and we like to have them to make potato leek soup throughout the winter. Rather than dig them and take up substantial space in the root cellar, I just store them right where they are. All they need is a little protection in the form of a low tunnel. The guy who invented the bender for these is in Texas and owns Lost Creek Benders, which I believe is where Johnny Seeds gets their benders from. I've purchased a number of benders from him and from Johnny's for our hoop houses and these low tunnels, which, according to Elliot Coleman, cost 1/20th what it would take to cover the same area with a hoop house. I don't generally like low tunnels for crops like greens and lettuce, though they will work, which can be harvested frequently. But for something like leeks, which I'll maybe harvest a couple times a month, this is just perfect. One more thing before heading back to work at lunch. I have a few long pieces of birch that I need to saw into firewood length, stack, and then close all the doors to the woodshed. Then I should be good for the winter. One final task before it snows. When I begin filling the ice rink each year, I use rocks to weigh it down until there's enough water to hold the plastic in place. That way, I can adjust it by pulling on this or that end and try to get rid of as many wrinkles as possible as it fills. But with the snow coming, it's time to get those rocks out of there and secure the plastic to the edges so snow and ice doesn't get between the plastic and the lumber.
Well, that's that. I think I've done all I can do. I was just on a video call with somebody in New York, and been snowing there for 3 hours, so it's on its way here. Not sure there's anything else I could pick up before it gets here. There, well, it's kind of a mess in here now, but I can pick away at this stuff while it's snowing outside. That will be tomorrow morning's project. But feeling really good about how things went tonight. Last step is to make sure the shovel is where it's supposed to be, right when I go out the door, so I can get over to the shed and get the four-wheeler and the snowblower out. We should be all set. Bring on the snow.